A very good morning to all my dear students. Today we are going to draft a summary suit under the summary procedure as prescribed under the Order 37 of the Code of Civil Procedure. But before starting with the same, my dear students, I just want to recapitulate the law pertaining to the same. Thereby, we would be able to understand and draft a suit for recovery under Order 37 of the Code of Civil Procedure. So, my dear students, let's start with the same. As you all are aware that the relevant provision for filing a suit for recovery as summary suit is provided under Order 37 CPC. Even though the word summary suit or summary procedure has not been defined under the Code of Civil Procedure. Now, what do you mean by summary procedure? As per literal meaning, it provides the expeditious disposal of the case in respect of recovery of money or which involves commercial transaction and which may be based upon contractual issues. So from this, we may infer that it is a suit which provides summary procedure rather than to adopt an ordinary procedure which has also been prescribed under the Code of Civil Procedure. But the summary suit is differentiated from the ordinary suit on the basis of the speedy trial or the speedy disposal of the case, which is not so in the case of ordinary suit. Now, what is the distinguishing feature? I just want to explain it a bit further. My dear students, as you all are aware that under an ordinary suit, the defendant is having the inherent right to file a written statement or reply in the case of ordinary suit for recovery as a matter of right, whereas in summary suit he has to disclose the defense available with him before the court of law and thereby to seek leave to defend from the court of law in respect of the civil suit filed by the plaintiff. And once his application, which may be oral or may be written, is allowed by the court of law, after looking into the averments made by him, thereafter the court may give him or converts the summary suit into ordinary suit. Otherwise, he would be given no chance to defend himself, and a judgment on the basis of the evidence led by the plaintiff can be pronounced by the court of law. Now, where does this leave to summary suit can lie? It can be filed in High Court only in those cases where the High Court is having the original jurisdiction to try a civil suit. For example, Delhi High Court in India is also having the original jurisdiction to try a civil suit. And it also has the pecuniary jurisdiction where the subject matter involves rupees 2 crore and above. Then in those cases, a matter can be filed for the recovery of the said amount, and the matter can also be filed in this case to the High Court, that is Delhi High Court. Thereafter, the summary suit can also be filed before the city civil courts. Further, it can also be filed before Court of Small Causes and other courts as specified by the High Court. In what type of cases the summary suit can be filed? It can be filed only on those cases where the suit is based upon the instruments of negotiability, that means negotiable instruments, or where the plaintiff seeks to recover a debt which is liquidated amount. So from this we may infer, my dear students, that summary suit cannot be filed in case of an unliquidated sum of money. Next, the summary procedure. So now I just want to apprise about the advantages of summary suit. So my dear student, the summary procedure prevents unreasonable obstruction by the defendant who has no defense. Second, it assists the expeditious disposal of the case. Unless the defendant is able to demonstrate that he has a substantial defense in his case, the plaintiff is entitled to a judgment forthwith. So from this, we may say that substantial defense has to be disclosed for getting a leave to defend. Otherwise, a judgment can be pronounced against him. Next, in the event of ex parte decree in the summary suit, the defendant is required to show more strict and stringent causes. This ensures that ex parte decree is not set aside in an ordinary manner. Further, the summary procedure is generally resorted to in a class of cases where speedy decisions are desirable in the interest of commercial transaction. So from this, we may infer that where the case involved high stakes of commercial transactions, then in those cases, we may resort to summary suit. Further, by and large, the summary procedure ensures that the defendant does not prolong the litigation and prevent the plaintiff from obtaining a decree by raising untenable and frivolous defenses. So from this, we may infer that it protects to undo the matter suffered from delay and thereby stops the defendant to take frivolous or untenable defenses in his suit, in his reply. Next. Now, I just want to apprise you about the disadvantages of a summary suit. As you all are aware that the summary suit can be filed only in those cases where there are commercial transactions. So the subject matter involved is here limited in nature. This is one of the disadvantages of a summary suit, meaning thereby the summary procedure is generally resorted to in a class of cases where speedy decisions are desirable in the interest of commercial transactions only. Second, summary suits are instruments of speedy remedy Justice hurried is justice buried. So sometimes for pronouncing a judgment in a speedier manner, the court may bury the justice. So it is also based upon this maxim, justice hurried is justice buried. Next, summary suits are easier to establish for the plaintiff and tougher for the defendant. So from this we may infer that level playing ground is not available for both of them, that is for plaintiff as well as the defendant, which is available in the case of ordinary suit and not available in the case of ordinary suit and not available in the case of summary suit, my dear students. Next, in case of non-appearance of the defendant or refusal to leave to defend, the plaintiff is entitled to decision forthwith. Presentation of defendant case is eliminated, making it rather plaintiff favored as compared to the defendant. More strict and stringent special circumstances for non-appearance has to be shown. So these are some of the disadvantages of summary suit. Now, my dear students, we will draft a summary suit. As you all are aware that the format of the suit of recovery is you have to mention the name of the court. So here we have written in the court of additional junior civil judge at Karkarduma court. So we have to describe not only the name of the judge, name of the court, but also we have to apprise or dealt with the name of the designation of the judge also. Further, we have to mention the civil suit number. Here we have mentioned in our draft civil suit number as 420 of so and so. Thereafter, we have to mention that this suit has been filed under certain section. Here we have to mention that the same has been filed under Order 37 of the CPC. Thereafter, we have to give the name of the parties like ABC versus XYZ in the matter of ABC, the plaintiff, and versus the XYZ, the defendant. Next. Thereafter, we have to give the title of the case. Here we have given the title as Suit for Recovery of Rs 50,000 along with cost at the rate 24% per annum under Order 2037 of the Code of Civil Procedure. Now here, my dear students, when we are making the draft or we are making the paragraphs, as you have already been apprised that you have to mention only the facts. You don't have to mention the law. So here we have to just give one line apart. This is different from the ordinary suit. In summary suit, we have to mention one particular fact, that is the law, that the present suit is being filed under the specific provisions under Order 37 of the CPC. This is the need of the law because this has been statutorily provided. If the same has not been written over here, then the suit may be treated as an ordinary suit, my dear students. Further, apart from it, we also have to mention that no relief which does not fall within the ambit of the Order 37 has been claimed in the plaint. So the plaintiff has to put a specific averment in the plaint while drafting this suit that no relief which does not fall within the ambit of this rule has been claimed. Next, we have to mention the facts like he is a construction material dealer and what is the profession of defendant. Thereafter, the defendant has given him a check for the payment and thereafter that check has been bounced and was returned unpaid. And thereafter, we have to give the explanation of the banker and the details of the check, on which date the check was pronounced, date of dishonor of check, date of receipt of memo, date of sending of notice, date of service of notice, date when cause of action arose. So these are certain facts which needs to be mentioned for the perusal of the court. This itself needs to be mentioned because these are part of facts and not of law. And these are very material facts which needs to be mentioned as per Order 6 Rule 2 of the Code of Civil Procedure. Next, we have to mention that he is having the ulterior motive, or he has the intention to cheat also. Next, we have to apprise the court that the check has been bounced and within a period of so, and thereby apprising the court that the suit or the check that the same has been filed within a period of limitation as such. As I had already apprised you that certain paragraphs are mandatory in nature, like cause of action, like jurisdiction of the court, evaluation of the suit, and the court fees in the matter. These are certain paragraphs which needs to be mentioned at the last, and in the end we also have to mention that total amount is due as on date is so much amount, which includes not only the principal amount but also the interest, and this interest needs to be calculated up to the date of the filing of the civil suit. So these all facts have to be mentioned in the suit for recovery to be filed under Order 37 CPC, and thereafter in the end you have to mention that the suit has been properly verified. In this you have to mention like I so and so do hereby verify the contents of the above plaint from parallel number so and so are true and correct to my knowledge and belief, and no part of it is false, and nothing material has been concealed therefrom. As you all are aware that the verification clause has been added with the view to protect the lawyers, meaning thereby it gives the responsibility of knowledge of the facts mentioned in the plaint upon the client itself, and thereby to protect the lawyer from giving any reply from giving any reply under the Advocates Act if any complaint has been filed by the client later on, if the said suit has been dismissed later on by the court. And thereafter, as you all are aware, that the said verification has to be supported or by an affidavit in the case. So plaint has to be supported by an affidavit as well. So this is all about the drafting of a suit for recovery under Order 37, and this is all about today's lecture. So my dear students, before parting with the today's topic, I just want to apprise you with my new topic which I am going to take in this subject, that is drafting, pleading and convincing, in my next class, and the new topic which I am going to take, that is suit for permanent injunction. Hope you have learned a lot from my lecture. In case of any doubt, then you may write it to me at my email ID, that is rahularoda.gn@jagannath.org. Thank you very much. We'll meet you soon. Till then, stay home, stay safe, and be positive. Thanks once again.